Tom's parenthood is one of the most baffling questions in Eddsworld. Just one animation mistake making up less than 10 seconds of an episode makes it one of the most debated topics in the show's history. There's so much confusion and misinformation about such a simple topic that it may take you down a rabbit hole you didn't even know existed. This is the mystery of Tom's parents. It's not often we're given information about a character's heritage. Sure, we'll get a flashback every now and then, but rarely will we ever get a glimpse of a character's past life. After so many years of the show being online, you'd think that we'd at least be able to meet each character's family at some point, but we actually know very little. Sure, we've seen Matt's grandma on occasion and some of his mother, but we've never met his father, nor any of Todd's parents, nor any of Ed's parents. And then we get to Tom, who is far more complicated. Now, you might be sitting there thinking that you already know all of this, that you're a real Edhead and you know everything there is to know about every character and every scene. Well, good for you. But for those of you who aren't massive nerds, or who just need a quick refresher, here is a quick rundown of Tom's parenthood history. In 25 feet under the seat, Tom accidentally frees a giant squid from the Atlantis aquarium. Fearing death, he sees this entire life flash in front of him, as we're treated to a montage through these bubbles. One of these bubbles gives us a glimpse of Tom's birth, and a look at what appear to be his parents, a bowling ball and a watermelon. The bowling ball is implied to be his mother, with the pearl necklace, and the melon with the glasses is his father. So far, so good. But things get more confusing in Funded, where we have another look at one of Tom's memories, one where his father dies at the hand of the bear, but this time his dad is not drawn as a watermelon like in the Atlantis episode, but as a pineapple, wearing the same glasses. Right, so there's a lot to unpack here, and let's start with the most obvious question: why are Tom's parents these bizarre inanimate objects to begin with? The answer to this is actually quite simple. They were likely created as a joke about Tom's character design. Firstly, Tom isn't drawn with the regular eyes like all the other characters. He has these two large circles where his eyes would be, and this explains Tom's mum, a bowling ball with finger holes that resembles eyes, which is a trait that Tom probably inherited. How about Tom's dad? Well, that's a little bit less easy to explain. The pineapple in Funded is probably a reference to Tom's spiky hair. Pineapples have a spiky stem, and this trait was probably carried over to Tom. But what about his first iteration, the one as a watermelon? It may have been a reference to Tom's round head as compared with the other characters, but the same can be said about a bowling ball as well.
What's your name, Private?
Sir, Tom, sir.
Wrong! Your name is now Private Bowling Ball, understand?
Sir, I feel like a shaved bowling ball, sir.
Luckily, we have the Eddsworld Fan Wiki, a website owned and operated by members of the Eddsworld fanbase, with a fact file on each of the characters. Here it says that Tom's dad was actually supposed to be a pineapple from the very beginning. It claims that the reason he was drawn as a watermelon in the Atlantis episode was only due to Ed Gould not being able to draw a pineapple. So there we have it. Tom's parents are a pineapple and a bowling ball, and they always have been. The watermelon in 25 feet was an animation mistake, and Tom's father was always a pineapple. Well, no, not exactly. I have searched for hours to find a source for this bit of information, but nowhere on the internet can I find a definitive first-hand source that says that Ed Gould didn't know how to draw a pineapple. I've checked Twitter pages, Tumblr accounts, documentaries, and blog posts, and nowhere can I find it mentioned by anyone on the Eddsworld team, let alone by Ed himself. I've heard people telling me this fact ever since my video about Tom's eyes, that his dad was never a watermelon, but in fact a pineapple. All of these people hearing this information and spreading it without even checking if it was correct, leading to more and more people believing it to be true and spreading this rumour further. It doesn't even make sense. You're telling me that Ed knew how to draw and animate giant squids, helicopters, tanks, ancient tombs and giant zombie fight scenes, but didn't know how to draw a simple pineapple? I can draw a pineapple in Microsoft Paint. Okay, I never said it was a good pineapple, but I can't exactly draw a helicopter either. Listen, I've tried looking for this information, I really have, but I couldn't seem to find it anywhere, Maybe Ed mentioned it on some live stream that was taken down, or a Twitter post that was deleted, but I couldn't find anything that says that he couldn't draw a pineapple. But then I went deeper, and after seemingly endless scrolling and searching, I found it. I found the only official comment on this situation available through search engines. On March 25th, 2018, the Eddsworld Twitter page hosted a short Q&A session. One user, Potato Animates, left a question asking for an explanation about Tom's father, and amazingly, we actually got a reply from the Eddsworld Twitter page, and the response we got was this. Information about this one little detail has actually been inconsistent for years, even before Funded came and confused things. It's possible to go back through a wiki's edit history archive, and we can go all the way back to July 1st, 2010 on Tom's page. On the first ever version of the post, it says that Tom's dad was a bowling ball and his mum was a watermelon, which is just clearly not correct. Okay, so you can actually go back a little bit further on the wiki until about 2009, but it doesn't really change anything for this argument, and it wasn't until now that it started defining which one the mother was and which one the father was. Just something I noticed whilst editing. This was changed later to say that his dad was a bowling ball and his mum was a pineapple in August 2010, 4 years before Funded came out. What? Then it was changed just 2 days later to remove the bit about the pineapple and get their genders right. Okay. Then just after Funded was uploaded, it was changed again to say that the watermelon was his actual father and the pineapple was the mistake. Then only a couple months later in April, it says that the watermelon was the mistake and his real dad was the pineapple. And it pretty much stayed like that for 2 years, until July 30th, 2016, when it was edited once again to say that Ed Gould did not know how to draw a pineapple. And that's what it's said ever since. I've messaged the guy who made the edit, but he hasn't actually been active since 2016, so I don't think I'll get a reply. And that's where we are with this whole thing. If there is a primary source for this information, then I can't find it. And for something that's so ubiquitously acknowledged as fact, you'd think that would be at least a little bit easier to find. I think the take-home message today is this. Never trust anything you read on the internet, including anything that you hear from me. It just takes one bit of misinformation for the truth to be lost. You know that one scene in The Dark Knight where Joker blows up a hospital? I've heard time and time again from sources that I know and respect that the bit where he fiddles with the button was improvised. That the explosion was supposed to go off straight away, and when it didn't, Heath Ledger decided to fiddle with the button on set before jumping onto the bus. But that is a lie. There's a documentary where Christopher Nolan, the director himself, talks through the scene and explains that everything was rehearsed endlessly and meticulously planned in advance. Nothing here was unscripted. And I'd heard this myth over and over, and not once did I decide to check it. And that's what this is. So many people will spout this myth about his dad being a pineapple all along, and Ed's inability to draw a pineapple without even thinking to fact check it. And why would they? It's such a random, inconspicuous piece of information amongst so many other random pieces of information. Life's just easier if you believe the correct answer to be the one which requires the fewest assumptions. As such, the correct answer to this problem is likely a lot more simple. The animators probably thought that would make more sense for this throwaway joke character to be a pineapple rather than a watermelon. It completes the joke about Tom's character design in 25 feet, so they just used a little bit of retroactive continuity. Either that or it was simply an error. The writers and animators probably remembered it was a fruit and assumed that it was a pineapple, and before they noticed the mistake it was just too late to fix. There are other possibilities. A lot of people seem to think that the melon might actually be a doctor, but we also see a nurse carrying Tom, so it's not like this is a hospital full of fruit doctors and staff. It could also be a grandparent or an uncle or something, but that just raises the question about the whereabouts of the father, and I have no doubt in my mind that when this episode was drawn, this shot was supposed to show his parents. A couple of people have also noticed the bowling ball on Ed's shelf in the end, which may suggest that bowling balls aren't sentient, or maybe he just keeps Tom's mum up there for some reason. And then you consider that Tom's prom date was a coconut and That raises a whole bunch of questions about the reliability of Tom's memories and the sentience of inanimate objects. I don't know. This video has already gone on long enough, and I've managed to talk for far too long about what amounts to less than 30 seconds of animation. We'll never know the truth, and people will keep on speculating until we have an official response. And I guess that just leaves us with one question. Who actually cares?